Okay, so this video is to explain how you can arrive at your answer for lesson 6.8b, the individual activity. Do not watch this video until you have tried it yourself, please. Okay, so this question was all about a constant rate of sailing boats. And what you had to do was to determine their miles per hour speed, so their constant rate of speed, and then graph three boats on a Desmos graph. So in this first part, I'm going to go through about some of the questions about finding their speed per hour, and then the second part, I'll show you how you should have added those to Desmos. Okay, so our question said 3 sailing boats set off from Sydney Harbour bound for New Zealand. Each boat sails at a constant rate of miles per hour. Complete the table below to determine how far each boat travels. Okay, so I can see on my table I have our time, which eventually would be called X, and that's going to be in hours. And boat 1 miles, boat 2, boat 3. So I'm going to start with boat 1. How many miles does he travel, or that boat travel, in 1 hour? We're not sure because we only know how far it travels in 2 hours. In 2 hours, it travels 40 miles. So that means that in 1 hour, it travels half of that, which will be 20 miles. Let's continue with boat 1. He travels 20 miles per hour. And so after 4 hours here, he's going to travel 4 times that amount, which will be 80 miles. And after 8 hours, he's going to travel 160 miles. All right, moving on to boat number 2. He travels 35 miles per hour. We can already see that his 1 hour of time has been given to us as 35 miles. And so now let's find how far does he travel in 2 hours? Well, that's double 35, so that is 70 miles. 4 hours is going to be double again, so that's 140 miles. And our last one here, in 8 hours, it's going to be double again, and that's 280 miles. All right, and boat 3, we only know how far he travels in 4 hours here. In 4 hours, he can travel 100 miles. So now we need to work backwards a little bit. That means in 1 hour, he's going to travel a quarter of the distance because we're dividing by 4, and that's going to be 25 miles. In 2 hours, then, he'll travel 50, and in 8 hours, he's going to travel 200 miles. So from my table here, I can already determine who travels faster. All right, who's going the furthest distance for each hour, and that I can already tell is going to be boat number 2 here because he's traveling 35 miles for every hour. Okay, question 2 said, what is each boat's speed in miles per hour? Well, we need to look at per hour. That's our 1 hour over here. And then each boat's speed is here. So boat 1 speed is 20 miles per hour. Boat 2 travels at 35 miles per hour. And boat 3 traveled at 25 miles per hour. Okay, so this step is really important. You need this step to be able to put your graphs together on Desmos. It says write an equation which shows the relationship between the distance traveled and the time per hour. So that's basically asking us if we want to determine how far a boat travels, then what equation can we use for any time frame? Okay, so for any time per hour, how do we determine how far the boat has traveled? So what I've done is I've rewritten here the speed that each boat is traveling at, just to remind me. And so it says here that the distance we're going to call y. So the distance for boat number 1 is dependent or equal to the time per hour. So per hour, we're going to say is x. And for every 1 hour, the boat is going to travel 20 miles. So boat number 1's equation looks like this. Y equals 20x. Boat number 2 equation, the distance traveled, which is y, is equal to 35 miles per hour, and the hour is represented by x. That means for every 1 x, the boat will travel 35 miles. And the last one here, the new pen, the boat number 3, its distance is y, is going to be 25x. So what we've basically determined is we can put in any independent variable here for x being independent. We can choose any variable for x depending on how much time has passed, and we will be able to determine how far the ship has traveled or the sailing boat has traveled because our y is dependent. Y is dependent. Whoops. Dependent. And x is independent. Okay, let's move on.